Recorded live with little or no editing. It's Defense Up. I'm Round 7. How you doing? Today we're going over Purple People Eaters defense. This is the first video of the new Crucible room rules. I had a little bit of trouble getting to Defense Up lately because of some stuff that was going on last week. Things are now under control, however, and so we're gonna jump into this one. Purple People Eaters is 61 million TCP operating in Plat 3, and his roster's kind of Swiss cheese, actually. We found that he doesn't have an entire new Warriors or Masters of Evil to work with, never built up Lizard, lots of weird things going on in this roster. So this is going to be very specific to his build, but we'll talk about some options that maybe if you don't have some of those teams or whatever, this might work out for you. We always like to cover new angles on Defense Up, whether you're 20 million TCP or 120 million TCP. I love getting those rosters in and talking about it. In fact, the high and low end is kind of where it's fun because those are challenging for us, thinking about new and interesting ways. We're not worrying about Mephisto today. Lots of news about him getting his buffs and everything, but it doesn't look like Purple People Eaters is going to be encountering any Mephistos to speak of, so we're not going to worry about that today. Also, if you'd like your defense featured on Defense Up, tough luck. I got over 20 people on the list. I'm not accepting applications right now, so I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to wait. I'd like to get through some of those because at this point, if I add you to the list, you're gonna be on the next season's room rules. All right, enough of that. Room number 1 is the Pegasus team. This is really good, except I would like a placement swap with Kestrel and Iron Man, Tony Stark there. We want the Taunter to be to the outside edge and as far away from rescue as possible. Otherwise, we're gonna keep this team here. I think it's pretty good, so an A- for that one. Moving on to the next room here. This was something, right? He's trying to use the blood transfusion rules. We did find out that it does affect Robbie's speed this time around. In the previous season, the room rules didn't affect passives most of the time. Remember, with Scopely, passives don't affect passives except when they do. Doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Anyway, the room rules do affect Robbie, but that's too bad. Robbie is a great character to have on offense, especially with the Secret Defenders. They crush Spider Society, especially when you use them with Lizard. And so we gave Purple People Eaters some homework. He's going to be building up his Lizard, combining him with his Secret Defenders and using them on offense. Instead, what we're gonna put in this room, we're gonna put Captain America in the corner, adjacent to Noir, and then we're gonna put these 3 members of the Mercs for Money team in with him. Why these 3 members? These are the 3 he has built, so that's what we're gonna roll with. That's kind of a small Logan, so we actually want him to be really far away from all the action. We don't want him to get clipped off early. Remember, when the leaderboard payouts happen, Logans are gonna get bigger and a lot of the counters are going to change or not work at all. So get in there and use those counters while you can. The new Warriors is a great counter for the Mercs for Money at this time, but will probably get edged out after the leaderboard payouts. As for this team that's here, I don't like it. Zim isn't gonna be affected by the bleeds. It doesn't actually happen because the turn order, the bleed doesn't actually take effect until the 2nd turn of the character. And by then the match is kind of already decided anyways. So this was an interesting idea, trying to take advantage of the room rules, but it didn't really work out that well. Logan is a great idea for the room rules, but there's lots of things you can do that are gonna make it better. That Noir getting to jump right off the start is going to apply bleed to the other team, and then Logan is going to assist with that. And the bleed being applied is gonna help give Logan some speed anyways, so that's great. Logan, also a fantastic character to use on offense with really fast teams because he assists everybody and ends up giving himself that turn meter and gets going really fast. So what we want, again, is gonna be Cap, Noir, and then the Mercs for Money members over here. As far as this team is concerned, this is kind of a waste. I'm giving this one a D. All right, in room number 3, we have the Extreme. I'm gonna go ahead and give this one an A out of the gates. It's fine the way it is. You can use Rogue in place of Sunspot. I think that both teams fold equally as fast, and it's not that big a deal. They're a little bit tricky. Players who don't know what they're doing going into an Extreme can make simple mistakes, and it all falls apart. Now, Juicy says that the Rogue variant is easier to clean up than the Spot variant, but I think that the Rogue variant is a bit more challenging to go into in the first place. So that's something we're gonna have to watch out for. My music is playing games with me today. So That is not the song I want. I think my wife just changed the music. Whatever, it happens. That's what happens when we record things live. All right, so A for this team, I think it works great. If you want to use Rogue, you can use Rogue. If you want to use Spot. I think it's just fine. And we're going to move on to room number 4. In here, we have the Infinity Watch. What we're going to do with this Infinity Watch is we're going to move them over to room 6 and replace what's there. Infinity Watch is a solid team. If you have Quicksilver, you can replace Moondragon with Quicksilver. It makes it extra threatening. That's an idea. If you don't need Quicksilver for offense, put them in there and play some Moondragon. Really spices it up a bit, especially if you have like a G19 or one with diamonds. Remember, Quicksilver is now available to get diamonds in game. All right, so we're moving Infinity Watch to room number 6, and what we're gonna put in here in its place is gonna be the remaining 4 members of the Spider Society team with Black Knight in the corner. Now, I'd like Ghost Spider adjacent to Black Knight because on Purple People Eater's roster, that Ghost Spider has some diamonds on her. She's the biggest build. She can tank the splash damage. She also has some inherent dodge capabilities, making her a little more tricky. So we're gonna do that. That Spider Society on defense is really causing people some problems, and Black Knight makes it that much tougher to get through. That's what we're gonna put in room 4. As far as Infinity Watch in 4, I mean, it's a team we're all just using to soak up efficiency, right? Because they have that on-spawn safeguard, immunity, and defense up, which just makes them tank hits like crazy. Also going to be a pretty good sack team after the changes to Mephisto. We'll see how that plays out, though. I'm not guaranteeing that's going to be the thing. That's the changes we're going to make here. That's Spider Society with Black Knight. The Infinity Watch, I'm going to give this one a B. I think it's a bad use of these room rules, the under the weather, applying the negative effects to everybody but this team, of course. After their first turn, so at the beginning of their first turn, the safeguard drops off, and at the end of their first turn, the immunity drops off, and then the negative effects get applied to the team, so it doesn't utilize the room rules the way you think it would. I don't think it's a great fit for room number 4. In room number 5, this is hot trash, an absolute waste of Kang and APOC. You don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket, and frankly, Kang and APOC, in my opinion, should always be reserved for offense. So, instead, we're going to scrap this whole team, which I'm giving an F, and we're going to instead put in the Hive Mind with Sus. Sus is going to replace Venom. That way you have 2 heroes and 2 villains with Sus, so he gets all his extra goodies, and that works pretty well. Sus pops off early, creates, putting the enemies in the red, gives the Hive Mind team the speed that they need to get going, and really wreck shop in room 5. Plus, the I'll be back for the villains. That really plays out well. I like how that works. This is an F. Hive Mind versus Sus is definitely the way to go, at least for Purple People Eater's roster. And finally, in room 6, this is where we're putting the Infinity Watch. He was trying to put something big in here. This is just a Cabal room where it's just gonna get rolled. Instead, if with Infinity Watch in here, you're not gonna wanna waste Cabal on that, and it's gonna tank a lot of hits. That's supercharged where they're just passing the positive effects to each other over and over and over again. A lot of times, that can time out, right? People are putting Spider Society in this room because of the massive amount of positive effects that end up getting spread. It multiplies and multiplies. You end up timing out because it hard locks the game while it counts those ridiculous amounts of positive effects being passed over. Remember, 1 stack of immunity is good as 100 stacks of immunity. Doesn't really matter. So Infinity Watch is just gonna go in there and have lots of a big variety of positive effects to splash around. Also, they're gonna be using their ultimates right away and making that happen pretty easily. So, one thing we learned while recording this, which by the way, you can watch those live on Twitch if you ever want to come see the behind the scenes and be a part of the action. We do read what chat has to say most of the time. I ignore whatever Windstorm says. He's crazy, he's a lunatic, don't listen to him. But one thing we did learn about Purple People Eater's roster is that he definitely needs to have Lizard in. Lizard is a clutch character for Crucible. Don't think of him as a tank. Think of him about somebody who goes into those hero teams and strips the positive effects really quickly. Extra useful tool against Spider Society. Strips all those positive buffs, and then when you pair them with somebody like Masters of Evil or the Secret Defenders, makes that team just roll over real nice and easy. So make sure you have a Lizard on your roster that works. And then we did talk about patching up the new warriors. Chat is suggesting that maybe it's a little late for Purple People Eaters to go back and beef up the new warrior team, or at least the characters he has missing from that team. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if I'm ready to give up on new warriors just yet, but they're definitely not the priority on this build. For Purple People Eaters, it's gonna be Lizard and make sure that the rest of his Masters of Evil are up and running so he can be offensively minded in this. Also, down below, quick note, there is a link to the CC counters list. Every season, we have some members of the community who come together and put that list together. And as people start finding really good counters, they apply them to that list. There's links to videos so you can see how those counters work and everything. It's a super useful tool. You can find that in the bottom of all of my videos. And as always, guys, remember, don't just have a good game. Be good to yourself and others too. And I'll see you next time. Bye.